All right, guys, we got some politics for you today. What does it say? Desperate Japanese media rips apart Carney's weak China negotiation strategy. Guys, you're subscribing and liking the videos like crazy, so I gotta keep doing these damn political videos. If you don't recognize me yet, my name is Alex. I run an AI agency in Toronto called Peak Demand Incorporated. We're helping Canadians with their AI adoption journeys, and guys, it's really hard. Canadians are not very technological at all. So we got to talk about pretty much everything possible to convince them that a world is going to look a little bit better with technology that can be more efficient, optimize their processes, and do more business. So we got to follow politics, real estate, mortgages, uh, immigration, population. We got to literally talk about everything, and then we talk about a little bit of AI. But it's been going good for us. We're getting a lot of new clankers in the water working for Canadian businesses. So I'm going to take some time today to watch some Moose on the Loose because you guys really like this guy. And today, or apparently last couple of days, Carney was out in China trying to do something, some business or something. I don't know. But we're going to get into it. And I'm just trying to see. This is CTV News. Let's start with CTV News, guys. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Carney is getting grilled from Japan. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got Japanese media criticizing Mark Carney's approach to dealing with Xi Jinping in China. It's all very embarrassing. Got a panel on CTV. You've got some other stuff. Let's jump into this one here. 2 in 5 Canadians, 41% report being $200 or less away from financial insolvency each month. This is life in Canada now. We got this one from the Japan Times. Japan is not impressed with Mark Carney. Canada undermines its own China engagement. Prime Minister Carney's Tokyo and Seoul flyover sends all the wrong messages. It says here, the art of diplomacy with rising powers demands more than goodwill. It requires strategic literacy, carefully cultivated leverage, and the discipline to sequence engagement properly. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Beijing this week for a 4-day visit, his first major bilateral engagement in the Indo-Pacific since taking office. Noticeably absent from his itinerary is Tokyo and Seoul. Carney's decision reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how middle powers must engage with Beijing in an era of intensifying great power competition. Goes on to talk about how China's got 70 million person industrial workforce with unmatched process knowledge. This isn't propaganda, it's an observable reality that any Canadian strategy must incorporate. It also goes on to talk about when a middle power leader arrives in Beijing seeking rapprochement, this lens positions the visit in validation of China's strength and vindication and its resistance to Western influence, saying that this essentially Mark Carney's coming here out of a position of weakness. And while we're in this position of weakness because he didn't get a deal with Donald Trump, and then they're criticizing him now because he's not going to Tokyo or Seoul to essentially get more leverage from the other big democracies that we should be trading with. And what's he doing? He's going to go over to Qatar because Brookfield just went over to Qatar and made a deal back at the beginning of December, and then he's going to go to the WF in Davos. It's clear where his priorities are. It's to enrich himself. He doesn't give a crap about Canadians.
Welcome.
In a year where every dollar counts, your shipping strategy has to work harder, faster, and smarter.
I wonder what this woman's selling. Probably some AI stuff.
Right on.
Thank you very much.
You guys are going to break each other's arms off with that handshake.
It's my pleasure to see you.
Goes on to say here, Canada's policy community has struggled to internalize these realities. The assumption persists that patient dialogue will moderate Chinese behavior and that economic interdependence naturally produces convergence, and that Beijing's challenges, demographic decline, real estate troubles, and sluggish competition will force accommodation with Western preferences. It goes on to talk about Canada and India's relationship in China, and then just once again revisits Tokyo and Seoul. Without consolidated agreements from these major cities, before entering Beijing, meeting room Carney lacks the most basic prerequisites for productive engagement, credible alternatives that limit Chinese leverage. Well, maybe he isn't looking for leverage because he's exactly where he wants to be. And that's the truth of it, sadly.
We're hardened between Canada and China. We're hardened by the leadership of President Xi Jinping and the speed with which our relationship has progressed in recent months.
Carney's Beijing trip, undertaken before visiting Tokyo or Seoul, sends several problematic messages simultaneously to Beijing. The visit suggests eagerness bordering on desperation to restore relations troubled since the unlawful detentions of Canadians Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. Chinese negotiators schooled in strategic patience will interpret this timing as weakness. This article goes on to just hammer Carney over and over. The productive sequencing would have begun in Tokyo, where Carney would negotiate concrete economic security agreements covering critical minerals, semiconductor cooperation, strengthen supply chain resilience and technology partnerships. Such agreements need not to be framed as anti-China initiatives, but their existence would fundamentally alter the calculus in any subsequent Beijing negotiation by demonstrating that Canada possesses genuine alternatives for market access, investment, and technological partnership. This article just basically says Carney has no idea what he's doing. I think he does know what he's doing, though. He's there for a reason. He's a smart guy. He's not dumb.
This is indeed a very important meeting and the most auspicious start to the new year and to a new era of relations between Canada and China.
Then goes on to say Seoul represents a complementary partner offering advanced manufacturing capabilities and its own complex experience managing relations with both China and North Korea. South Korea's evolution under numerous administrations, from emphasizing economic ties with China to implementing export controls and deepening trilateral cooperation with the US and Japan, illustrates the regional trend Carney should align with rather than resist. With concrete agreements from both Tokyo and Seoul in hand, Carney could then travel to Beijing from a position of strength, demonstrating through actions rather than rhetoric that Canada has no options and is pursuing them. The negotiation dynamic transforms the supplication to genuine dialogue between parties with mutual interests and also clear alternatives if those relations fail to materialize on acceptable terms.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister, I'm very pleased to meet with you. On behalf of the National People's Congress, I extend a warm welcome to you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Future Canadian leaders and their counterparts in similarly positioned countries must internalize a fundamental lesson. Strategic literacy about great power capabilities must be acquired through sustained allied consultation, not solidarity assessment. Carney's Beijing visit may produce warm atmospherics and positive headlines about re-engagement, but absent the prerequisites of allied coordination and credible alternatives, it represents a strategic setback disguised as diplomatic engagement. The sequencing matters. It always has. This is such a scathing article criticizing Mark Carney, basically saying that he has no idea what he's doing. He's doing this all wrong. He did it in the wrong order. And he's missing the most fundamental part of trade, and that's going to Seoul and Tokyo first before going to China. Calling him out for not knowing what he's
And you know, it's so I have no idea about the geopolitics or the best order to do things in, but I just this reminds me of Game of Thrones. I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones or like Game of Thrones. I like Game of Thrones. I didn't like the ending too much. I think they were just trying to finish the show as quickly as it could. With that ending, it was pretty shit. but the idea is the same. You sort of need to you need to come to some sort of agreement with the lesser houses, and then once you've shored up your credibility with those houses, then you can go to the big houses like the Targaryens or the Starks or whatever, and you can sort of have negotiations with them, saying you have these banner lords under your jurisdiction or whatever. I don't know. But it looks like Carney was trying to jump the gun and go right to China without consulting with Korea and Japan first. And, I don't know how much training he has in the relationship engagement sequence in Asia. Like, this is well beyond my understanding, guys. Like, I got to give up to Musa Lucy for him to be able to wrap his mind around this type of politics. It's pretty. I give him kudos for that, because for me, I'm thinking to myself, man, these humans are using a lot of big words and they're not doing fuck all. They're just literally just talking heads. So, and that article was just tearing apart this guy. It's coming from Japan as well. So I don't know. What do you guys think of Carney going to China to try and negotiate stuff? And honestly, and I'll be frank here, like trying to do business with Japan and China, like that's great. Like, oh great, we're gonna do business with people overseas. Guys, we need to do business with the US. We need to do business with the US so badly in this country. And it's funny, I think the US is preparing for a world where they don't need to do business with Canada. And Canada just becomes this sort of blemish territorially beside what would be like the big North American power. It's just like there's Canada. They're trying their best. Let's see how long they survive, because no one's doing business with them anymore. And when you see Carney do stuff like this, Moose on the Loose reacts negatively. I think some people on CTV at the beginning were reacting negatively too. It's like, like liberals, you guys voted for this guy, so I honestly, I don't hear anything from liberals. I don't hear a peep out of them about what's going on in Canada, because I'm pretty positive they know they fucked up. Like, it's so obvious to me. Like, I don't vote for two reasons. I don't believe in But look at this schmo. Look at Cardi's face on the screen. Do you think I would ever um, actively give my vote to someone like that to look after me? Hell no. I would rather even not even engage in the system. Look at this guy. He looks like, I mean, even just looking at his stature, he's slouched over, small, weak. I wouldn't vote for him. And that, and like literally that goes into my voting. Like I can tell if we're looking at a human being, does this person take care of themselves? Do they have the discipline to feel pain on a regular basis and train their body? I don't care how old you are. You know, my father's 85. He still finds time to train. You can see it in his body. Carney does not. So I don't respect him as a man like that. But for you guys to want to vote for a man like that to try and make Canada better, he's clearly not doing it. Like it's so obvious. Relationship with the states is must be priority. I don't think we've ever had a Canada in history that wasn't heavily entrenched with the United States. And now that we are not and we're decoupling, it's like look at how badly we're doing, guys. It's like you're in a marriage and you might hate your partner, you hate your spouse, but like divorcing them would mean catastrophic ruin. There's no reason to do it. Just stick it out, ride it out, make it work. That's how great marriages go the distance. We're going through a messy divorce right now, and Carney looks like he's trying to skirt off with a mistress in China, and she don't even care about him.
He's doing, but I think he knows what he's doing. He's intentionally doing this. He has one goal, and that's the carbon credit system. So he's going to China for some reason, whether that's getting China on board to bring that over here or some prerequisite in the process. It's not just Japan that's saying that this is the wrong relationship to build here in China. We should be getting a deal with America. Conservative Tony Clement here dropping the truth bombs. Believe it or not, they have two conservatives on this panel. I think this is a first on CTV.
What is your assessment of how things are going so far? And what would you say the political stakes ahead of this big meeting between President Xi and the Prime Minister are?
Well, I don't know where it's going. I mean, I don't really like this fasci. I'll be honest with you. I know the Prime Minister wants to, make other opportunities, not with the United States. I get that, but China is not the right. The Chinese Communist Party is not the right dance partner. They kidnapped two of our citizens. They tried to interfere with our elections, and as the previous speaker was saying, there's a lot of espionage and skullduggery that goes along with dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, there's lots of other choices out there: Japan, Korea, even in Asia, Vietnam, even. But China.
You know what's crazy? And now I'm starting to get it a little bit more. Japan's looking at China, looking at Canada, going, "Why is Canada talking to China when we're right here?" And Korea's like literally right there. Why don't you just come try and talk to us first? I mean, we don't have as big economies, but we haven't been as mean to you as China has, especially with kidnapped people. Jesus Christ, guys, like seriously. So it's honestly crazy. It's like Carney is doing the opposite of what you'd expect, like a strong diplomat to do. And I don't know if it's like some sort of liberal brainwashing or anything. Like it's literally everything he does. Liberals are like, "Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's great. He just shot me in the foot. That's great." I don't know what it is. And you know what? I think a lot of the play for liberals is what is this? Is that oh, it's great. More people want robots. I think the play for the liberals is play off the hate that people have for Trump, Pierre Poilievre, as much as you can, but don't show them what we're doing because they might hate us more. But just play off the emotions, because even when I talk to people who don't like Trump, they just say, "I don't like Trump. I don't like conservatives. I don't like Republicans," and then they skirt off and vote for liberal behind the scenes. But they don't really look at and talk about what liberals are doing. My bad, Muslim loser. You're looking angry there. But I will say, it's very, very apparent to me that the decisions we're making at the highest level in government in Canada, none of it looks like it's bending towards helping the average Canadian. That's me. Like, are we getting the most out of our government when it comes to the average person? Because the average person, their vote is actually heavier than someone who's living an elite lifestyle, jets, cars and mansions or whatever. Because there's more of them. So you suspect that politicians would have the average person's best intentions in mind. Carney might be saying a whole bunch of things like elbows up and, we're going to go after Trump. We're going to get him. And that really riles up emotions, the emotional side of, liberal thought process. And I think a lot of liberals are caught up in that. Like if you have a feeling, if there's a feeling that you get when you look at Trump or you look at Paul Poilievre and it's a negative feeling, and then you think, I don't want those guys to be prime minister or president for whatever reason, and then you go and vote for the guy that you think might be better, but you're not paying attention to what he does, that guy might be worse. He's just not doing the bad stuff on the surface. And this is me, guys. All politicians are fucking idiots. You got to, and that's why I don't vote, because I don't like to engage with idiots. So for me, just the fact of just casting my ballot, people go, oh, well, you have to vote, you have to use your rights or whatever. Fuck all that shit. I have a right to abstain, just because I see the choices that we have, and they're all shit. So it's very easy to see the liberals are not doing too well. I mean, they're not doing too great at all. So it's interesting to see that even like other nations like Japan and Korea are looking at Canada going, what the fuck are you doing?
I spent most of my time in Stephen Harper's cabinet making sure China didn't take over the oil sands and all of our minerals production. So I'm not happy with this. I got to tell you,
we should be banning China from owning anything in Canada. They want to buy stuff from us. That's fine. They want to buy our products. They shouldn't own anything in Canada.
Interesting, because I was thinking back to that as I was listening, Marco, to the sort of the MOU, the description of the MOU, and I haven't read all the details. I don't know exactly how it's going to materialize, but there appears to be a much bigger opening, particularly where energy is concerned, for additional Chinese investment. I remember covering the big Nexon decision under the Harper government, where it was like a massive deal to approve CNOC takeover, and the line at the time was, that's it, right? And since then, we've had a somewhat similar posture, particularly around the oil patch. It felt like a very different signal today. Do you feel like it's a different signal? And what do you think is behind that?
I do think it's a different signal. I think we're living in a different time. And I would say respectfully to Tony, they have been a dance partner. China has. They're our second largest trading partner. And, while I think in a perfect world, we would just be focused on one side of the ledger when it comes to relationships, we have to take a look at the world as we see it right now. And it is different.
Okay, yeah, let's look at it right now. Canada exports by country. United States, 77% of our stuff goes to America. 3.9% goes to China. They love saying China's our second biggest trading partner. It's not even close. The UK's at 3.6. It's nearly number 2. It's clear where we need to be getting a deal. We shouldn't be doing anything to piss off America or Donald Trump.
So guys, this chart right here, I'm a numbers guy. I'm a technical guy. All I give a fuck about is the results, numbers. You don't have that shit. Get the fuck out of my face with your feelings. Guys, United States, 77% of our exports goes to the States, guys. We have to do well with the States, guys. And right now, for whatever reason, the liberal mantra is elbows up against the States, when that is more than 3/4 of our exports, guys. We need to pay attention. Pay attention to what these politicians are telling you. All this elbows up bullshit is exactly what that is. Bullshit. Imagine you're a little kid. And I don't even know, 77%, maybe even too much. Imagine you're a kid with a mother and a father, both contributing 50% to your life. And then you're literally like 4 or 5 years old. And then all of a sudden one day you go to your mom and say, "Mom, fuck you. I don't want anything to do with you because you made me upset. You took away my toys one day, or you slapped me on the wrist, something, whatever." And you're this is a funny analogy. And so your mom's like, "Well, then fuck you. I don't need to deal with you. I'm going to deal with my other kids." And your dad's going there and he's sitting there going, "Well, you should probably work it out with your mom." And then your uncle, who is your dad's brother, says, "You know what? You should probably work it out with your mom." And then your auntie, also your dad's sister, going, "You know what? Work it out with your mom." Like, it's impossible. You can't, and there's probably some people in this video going, "Well, I never talk to my mom again. I hate my mom." Fuck you. But the majority of us, we love our mothers. And I know it's like, you can't really, United States is your mom or your big brother or whatever. But in this analogy, like 70% of your economic well-being to make money with the little exports in your country as Canada, you're just saying, you know what, mom, we don't want to deal with you anymore. We're trying to deal with the rest of the world. It won't work, guys. I'm very like dysfunctional relationships with someone who is so um, important to your well-being, like a mother to a child. And guys, if you feel like, oh well, this guy, he sounds like an asshole. He doesn't sound like he's a Canadian. I am a Canadian. I was born in Toronto General Hospital, but I understand like you can't bite the hand that feeds you, guys. Let's get really serious. This chart in and of itself is insane. Just imagine that we don't have any exports to the States and we're trying to find 70% of all that money in the other little diggy countries that are on this chart. We got to think, guys. If you're a liberal, I want you to just look at this screen and tell yourself, I voted for the person who doesn't want to do business with our largest trading partner. I voted for that person. If you're a liberal, that's what you're saying to yourself. And if you're a conservative, then you're saying, oh, fuck, we're fucked.
Be securing this deal right now. But of course, Carney knows that. They all know this. Mark Carney is running a scheme here to get rich.
Look, I think the MOUs specifically are a signal that there is an openness to more economic cooperation. I think the challenge really is going to be to find ways to seek compromise between things like the tariffs that we put in place when it comes to EVs to defend our auto manufacturing sector, whereas we also want to see relief for canola in Saskatchewan. I think it's a good thing that Scott Moe is attending with the Prime Minister. And I think the reality is this, that today, trade is really about finding ways to seek alignment on interests as opposed to values.
This guy's really trying to twist the whole situation like a pretzel to make it make sense, and it doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be doing anything other than selling stuff to China. And we shouldn't be selling a lot of stuff in one individual sector. We should be spreading this out across Vietnam, Korea, Thailand, Japan, the Philippines. That way, if China tries to pull this crap on us like they are right now with canola and peas, then it's not that big of a deal. But right now, it is a big deal because we do sell a lot of that stuff to China. This is another failure by the Liberals.
You know what also strikes me about that? Another thing I was thinking about today, James, was like, it was just a few years ago where the position was friendshoring. Like the approach that countries like ours and ours specifically was going to take to facilitating greater trade, to facilitating more cooperation in the world, was through alignment on values versus what Marco and now many other countries are saying too, which is like, we've got to be pragmatic given the threat of Trump. What is your view of that?
Yeah, look, I think given the productivity numbers in Canada and the struggling economy, I think cash shoring is kind of what I think a lot of people are looking for. And exploiting export markets is something I think that's fundamental for Canada. Marco is right. China is Canada's second largest trading partner, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And diversification is important. I think part of the reason why Prime Minister Carney is actually there is for the conversation we're having right now, which is Canadians, as the United States gets more and more belligerent and less trustworthy and less reliable for as far as an export market goes, Canada's going to have to trade with other countries around the world. And there's going to be some tough dialogue that has to happen within this country and some comfort found with some of those markets that we're going to do business with. Some things we will never trade with China. Some things we will not be able to collaborate with in China because of the nature of the way in which the regime deals with the rule of law. But I can tell you that the province of Saskatchewan, that's why Premier Scott Moe is there, they'd like to sell a lot more canola there. We would like to have more access to their market. We want to have steady access in terms of LNG. They would buy every drop of LNG we could produce in British Columbia, I can tell you, and get it into those Chinese markets. So there are certain commodities and certain opportunities within China that are specific and unique to that market that we should be pursuing and should have access to. But a broader trading relationship, I think we shouldn't look to just one country, but we should have greater diversification. And the good news is for Canada is that we are the only country in the world that has tariff-free access to more than 52% of the global economy. We're the only country in the world that's a member of CUSMA, but also the Canada-Europe Free Trade, Canada-South Korea Free Trade, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So, going market to market on commodity to commodity, deal by deal basis, that's going to become more of what the job of the Prime Minister is going to be. And I think today is part of that. And there could be a lot more of this as I think, standard operating procedure for Canada's Prime Minister, whoever that is, on a go-forward basis.
It's unfortunate. I think James here is really naive. He doesn't really realize what's going on, what Carney's doing. He's rolling out net zero agenda. He's getting Xi Jinping on board because they have the biggest carbon credit system over there. He's living up a little bit in the clouds as if Mark Carney's trying to run our country in a positive manner that's good for us. He's not doing that. Going back to Scott Moe, the reason Scott Moe's there is obviously to fight for Saskatchewan, but is also to keep an eye on Carney. That's why yesterday's press conference, his head snapped over when Carney said New World Order. You look at Scott Moe's reaction here.
The progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world.
Did you know that women are generating recurring royalties from romance novels? They didn't even write themselves.
God, what am I getting some questionable ads?
Sets us
okay,
up.
hold on.
When Carney said New World.
Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. We're seeing some weird shit. Okay, so Moose, fucking Moose on the loose. You're getting me with this stuff today, bud. Let's take just a rewind 10 seconds. Pay attention, guys.
Trying to run our country in a positive manner that's good for us. He's not doing that. Going back to Scott Moe, the reason Scott Moe's there is obviously to fight for Saskatchewan, but it's also to keep an eye on Carney. That's why yesterday's press conference, his head snapped over when Carney said New World Order. You look at Scott Moe's reaction here.
The progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the New World Order.
He's like, wait, what? What did you just say? Originally, when I played this, I cut out all this.
Holy shit, guys. I don't know if you guys have like into conspiracies or whatever. I'm not really a conspiracy person, but I know like there is some sort of conspiracy, like New World Order or some crazy stuff, like super elites. Like, honestly, I don't know. I'm just a lowly technologist building clankers, guys. That's all I do. But to hear your prime minister say, prepare for the New World Order, and then the Canadian guy, whatever the fuck he does, politician, look at his face. He's in shock. Because he's hearing words out of the prime minister going, what the fuck did you just say? Let's hear it one more time, guys. That's fucking crazy to me.
We have made in the partnership sets us up well for the New World Order.
He's like, wait, what? What did you just say? Originally, when I played this, I cut out all the spaces because he's speaking really slow for the translators to make sure they get the words very accurate, but it made it so long and obnoxious to watch. But I mean, him coming out and saying New World Order, and Scott Moe's like, whoa, what are we doing here? So we've got Keenan Bexey from Juno News here reaching out to Premier Scott Moe's office, asking if they want to comment on this, to seeing if he condones the comments that he was nodding to there. He was nodding before, and then he, did the quick take when Carney said that. Scott Moe will continue to advocate for the best possible outcomes for Canada and Saskatchewan when it comes to trade between the two countries. Premier Scott Moe does not vet the Prime Minister's comments. So yeah, Scott Moe did not realize what was going on there.
Is there a way to kind of have it all, though, with China? And even using the example of canola, right? Like, as we try and secure more market access, if it were for canola, I mean, that is what China picked to hit us back on in response to the EV tariffs, because that sector is so vulnerable to China, just as it was in 2018 when they levied other tariffs on the same sector. Christy?
Well, okay, first, we heard Ambassador Hoekstra say recently, well, we don't really need Canada. So we've got the United States saying they don't need us. They don't want to trade with us. We're not relevant to them. And then we think that we shouldn't start trading with other countries that with whom we also have serious disagreements. I'm not sure that the way the Americans have treated, it seems to me like the way the Americans have been treating Canada would suggest that we should not be conducting our relationships with countries based on the fact that we share the same values, that we visit a lot, that we have a lot of family across the borders. We should be making those decisions based on where Canada's economic interest really lies. Now, there are issues here, like Jimmy Lai, for example, and other Canadians or people highly connected to Canada who've been detained in China. Those issues remain. But, when we were in really tough times in British Columbia, I mean, I did a lot of trade missions to China, and I'll tell you, they were the ones that invested in all of their three major oil companies invested in Canada in LNG. They saved our forest industry when the Americans had threatened it really profoundly with their tariff changes that they'd made. So
I'm not surprised Christy Clark here defending China. I mean, she's so wrapped up in it. She's so integrated in China. She's just another one of these liberals like Chrétien has no problem doing a deal with the devil.
This is really important for Canada. And I would say as a Western Canadian, the question isn't just, should we be trading with China? Because I think that's a gimme. They are when you live on the West Coast, you see how much closer they are than trading with Germany, as an example. But the question is also, is the government going to choose EVs in Ontario, in a market that's highly subsidized, producing cars that are very expensive, where there's very little trust that they'll be charging infrastructure? Or are they going to choose canola, which contributes $40 billion or something like that to the Canadian economy in Western Canada, which has a well understood supply chain, lots of customers, and we know is going to continue without much government subsidy to be able to grow the Canadian economy? To me, that is just as important a question about whether or not we decide we want to trade with China, because I think it's an absolute gimme that we should be doing that.
Well, I don't like Christy Clark. She's right there. The question with EVs, Doug Ford's coming out and saying, yeah, let's have China come in and build them, have their own facilities, build BYD, Huawei, whatever vehicles in Ontario, when really that's just the same thing we did before, except China's involved, throwing tons of monies into EVs, bankrupting Canadians. Meanwhile, we have an actual industry in the canola industry, which makes billions of dollars that needs to be addressed now. We've also got an update to this story where it was a realtor had shown a place to a guy twice, and the second time he tried to thrust himself upon her and SA her. She pulled out a knife, defended herself, and the guy perished. We have a bit of updates on this now. The police are fully backing her and what she did to protect herself.
The autopsy was conducted today, which identified the man as 48-year-old Shabazz Ahmed. As investigators have determined that the woman was acting in self-defense, Ahmed's death has been deemed not a non-culpable homicide, and no charges will be laid in the incident. An incident of this nature is extremely rare and deeply unsettling for the victim, her family, and all Calgarians. The victim's actions undoubtedly saved her life, and our thoughts are with her as she continues to recover. To protect the privacy of the victim, no further details will be released. I can say that in my experience in the homicide unit, this is easily the most clear-cut case of self-defense that I have ever been involved in.
This is great news. So no charges being laid against her. She saved her own life, and now she saved the community against Shahbaz Ahmed from attacking anyone else. The question I have is, how long has Shahbaz Ahmed been in Canada? Was he born here? Did he come here just last year? I would like some more details on this.
Okay, guys, you got your dose of moose on the loose from me, guys. Oh, fuck. Let's go back to this one second.
Sets us up well for the new world order.
He's like, wait, what? What did you just?
Guys, if you haven't clued in yet, and I'm not a politics guy. I don't know. This is all trash to me, honestly. I don't know why you guys like this stuff. Then we get those subscribers for it too. But, just seeing Carney say the words New World Order and a Canadian guy here, diplomat, politician, whatever the fuck he's doing, turn to him. Look at his concern on his face, guys. If you don't think that is cause for at least questioning a little bit about what our government is doing, and I don't know what to do. Like, I cannot help ya, but this is why I got a free conscience. This is why I don't vote, because I don't want to be the guy who says, oh, fuck, I voted for someone who's doing that. Come on, guys. If you voted for Carney and the Liberals, what do you think about the New World Order? Jesus Christ. Anyways, guys, this one's been a half hour. Moose, love you, brother. Let me get some funny screens here so we can get a good thumbnail going. I'll get him too. And I think the title is going to be some Carney New World Order with China. Something funny to get everyone clicking on it. But if you guys like this type of conversation, you like Moose on the Loose, hit like, subscribe, or watch more videos with him. If you don't like the conversation, you think I'm an asshole, you don't like Moose, I think he's fucking hilarious. Then you can dislike, still subscribe, so you can come back and beat us up anyway. But what do you guys think of Carney and his dealings internationally with other countries? I personally believe he should just get on his hands and knees and beg Trump to do business with Canada so we can get back to business as usual and just be. Why do we get upset about being the States' little brother or even a little nephew or whatever? It's fine. Like I would love to have the States love us off, because then we get protection, we get business, we get all sorts of stuff. Like, it's great. But to see Carney in this state, like, man, it's pathetic. I'm looking at a pathetic man surrounded by people who are concerned about how pathetic he actually is. And I pray for this country. Anyways, guys, this was a fun one. Look forward to the next one. Bye now.